Evening, everybody. I make that 6 o'clock, so we'll make a start. So, apologies for absence. I've received apologies from Councillor Shah. Any other apologies received?
None, Chair.
Thank you. Urgent business. I've not been notified of any items of urgent business.
No items of urgent business, Chair.
Thank you. Declarations of interest. Does any member have an interest to declare in any matter on the agenda? No? A lot of shaking of heads? No? Okay, thank you. Public question time. Have we received any public questions?
No public questions received.
Thank you. Okay, agenda item number 5, minutes. So does Cabinet agree the minutes of the Cabinet meeting held on the 2nd of December? Agreed. Happy to agree those, thank you. And then agenda item number 6, council tax base and non-domestic rates tax base forecast 25-26. Councillor Jabbar.
Thank you, Chair. So this report is rather technical but very important in terms of setting the budget for the next financial year. It sets out the council tax base and the provisional business rate base, which will underpin the budget for next financial year, and it actually updates the MTFS. The council tax base has been developed using the most up-to-date information, allowing new properties, changes in use, exemptions and projection in respect of the impact of council tax reduction scheme and collection rates. Taking account of all this information, this increases the council tax base to 59,501. This is an increase of 121 Band D equivalent of the council tax base of last year, which was at 59,380. Similarly, our focus for business rate income is calculated based on the most recent information we have of business rate properties across the borough, which we use to forecast our income from business rates. Based on this information, it is forecast that we will be receiving income of 56.18 million. As we're part of the Greater Manchester 100% business rate retention pilot, Oldham receives a benefit from this arrangement, which is for 25-26 is forecast to be 4.6 million. Based on this current arrangement, Oldham will also receive 75% of this, with the balance attributed to the Greater Manchester Combined Authority. As there are statutory requirements for us to prepare and submit a local determined business rate forecast by 31st of January, to allow us to meet this deadline, the report is seeking delegation to finalise and submit the final NNDR1 form. So it's a technical form, Chair, that we have to finalise and submit to government so that they can calculate the business rates. So what we're asking for you to approve the council tax base, which is set at 59,501. But to finalise the business rate base, we're asking you to delegate that to myself and to the Director of Finance. I'm happy to take any questions colleague may
have. Thank you for that very comprehensive update, Councillor Jabbar. Does any member wish to speak? No? Okay. Does Cabinet agree with the recommendations as set out in the report?
Agreed.
Agreed. Okay. And the next item is also you, Councillor Jabbar, Revenue Monitoring Capital Investment Programme 24-25, month 8.
Thank you, Chair. So you'll know that we bring a regular report to you to update Cabinet about our in-year spend. So this report deals with the position at the end of November. We call it month 8. And the headline figure is that it is projected that by the end of the year, there will be an overspend of 2.4 million. It's a slight increase from the last report of month 6. If you look at the profiling end of November, then we're suggesting this 13.6 million is the actual overspend. But if you take that for the whole of the year, then it goes up to 20.4. The main areas as we rehearsed here previously, Chair, is based on adult social care, placement for children and temporary accommodation. Those three areas alone amount to 16.7 million. And we know that a lot of work has been done to manage the demand in these areas. And it's not the council alone that are facing this kind of pressure. Any council, local authority right across the country who have responsibility for social care, adult social care and temporary accommodation, they're facing similar pressures. I'm very much hoping that when the local government provisional settlement is published on Wednesday, that government will be kind to us and give us the resource that we need to deal with the ongoing issue that we've had for many, many years. And we got to a situation where the overspend in-year pressure is into the millions. We've never had that in the past. And the reason for that is not that we're managing our finances in a bad way, absolutely not. It's purely and simply because of the pressure that we're seeing in homelessness, in children placement, and in adult social care. These are factors which are outside our control. They are all statutory functions. So if somebody calls on our services, our help, then we need to provide that support. So I'm hoping that the new government will actually recognize the problem that we got and address the structural issue going forward. But in the short term, I'm definitely hoping that there will be increased resources for us in those areas that I mentioned, so that we can produce a balanced budget going forward and still maintain the capacity to provide key services to our residents. In relation to capital program, we give you an update position, which is the revised budget is looking at just over a £95.7 million. At the end of month 8, the spend is 46.6 million, which is 47.8% of the spend. Some of these expenditure comes very rapidly when we get the bills coming from our contracts. There is no major area of concern. If there are any underspend, then we will forward plan that for the future years. So in terms of capital program, Chair, I'm quite happy the way it's been managed and it's been dealt with. But obviously in terms of revenue, there are pressures which has been flagged elsewhere, and I've raised them here. But you know, we are doing everything we can to control that. There's a very regular meeting at management level, at cabinet level, at leadership level, to scrutinize every area of spend and to make sure that we're finding any saving that's possible. But as I said, it's because of unprecedented demand in those three areas in particular, right across the country, that has placed us in this position. Thank you, Chair. Again, I'm happy to take any questions colleagues may have.
Thank you, Councillor Jabbar. Does any member wish to speak? No? So I think really just to echo some of the points that you've made regarding the revenue spend, I think we all acknowledge and we're all seeing firsthand some of the pressures that we are being placed under. Much of it is outside of our control. So I think we would echo the points that you have made, and obviously let's see what Wednesday brings and let's see what that settlement brings. But thank you very much to you and your team for all the hard work that's gone on behind the scenes. And yeah, let's wait for Wednesday. Thank you. Okay, moving. Does Cabinet agree with the recommendations as set out in the report? Agreed. Thank you. Okay, so moving swiftly on to agenda item number 8, which is my report, which is Oldham Strategic Housing Land Availability Assessment 2024, which is more easily known as the SHLA. So the SHLA is a supply of available sites for housing development across the borough, broken down into 5, 10 and 15-year categories for anticipated delivery. We update this each year to reflect any new sites that have come forward and any sites that have been completed already or that have fallen out of the deliverable supply for any reason. Crucially, the SLAR shows that we have a supply of 3,495 dwellings anticipated to be completed in the period 24 to 2029, which exceeds the Places for Everyone requirement for that period of 3,124 dwellings. So we currently do have a 5-year supply under Places for Everyone. So with that in mind, the recommendation is to note this update and approve the SLAR for publication. Does any member wish to speak on that report? No? Does Cabinet agree with the recommendations as set out in the report? Thank you. Agenda item number 9 is also mine, Oldham's Infrastructure Funding Statement 2023-24. So the Infrastructure Funding Statement is another statutory requirement for reporting the income and expenditure of developer contributions or S106 monies. It focuses on what S106 monies have been received this year, how much S106 monies have been allocated to projects, and how much has actually been spent in the past year. This shows we are securing financial contributions from the new developments towards public open space and other infrastructure, and that we are spending it project by project. Does any member wish to speak on that report? No? Does Cabinet agree with the recommendations as set out in the report? Thank you. Agenda item number 10, Oldham's Brownfield Land Register 2024. So the Brownfield Land Register is a legislative requirement to publish a register of brownfield sites each year that is available for development in the borough. This is not in addition to the SLAR, it is merely drawing the brownfield sites out of the SLAR and recording them in this statutory register. This highlights just how much brownfield land we are taking account of in our housing land supply, and that we are maximising that as much as possible. But it also shows that there is not enough deliverable brownfield sites available for development in the borough to meet our full housing requirement. So, does any member wish to speak to this report? No? Okay. Does Cabinet agree with the recommendations as set out in the report? Thank you. Agenda item number 11, my final report is temporary accommodation fair share policy. So this paper is being brought forward to propose the enactment of a new policy which allows for charges to be made for occupation of temporary accommodation based on appropriate affordability checks. The Council does have the power to require the payment of reasonable charges in accordance with the Housing Act, and these charges will be for the use and occupation of the accommodation only. The Council will only charge proportionately and not indiscriminately. We want to place a focus on independent living so that single people and families will be able to manage their money more effectively by the time they leave temporary accommodation. It is anticipated that the majority of households will be entitled to either full or partial housing benefit, but it is also important that the policy does not act as a disincentive for households to work. Therefore, the Council is committed to ensuring temporary accommodation charges are affordable for everyone. And it's worth noting, I think, that this policy will only apply to tenants who are placed in self-contained accommodation, so not those that are in temporary hotel accommodation. Does any member wish to speak to the report? No? Okay. Does Cabinet agree with the recommendations as set out in the report? Thank you. And that takes us on to the final agenda item, street lighting attachment policy. Councillor Goodwin.
Thank you, Chair. Quite straightforward. The legislation requires individuals or organisations to obtain a licence from the local authority before attaching anything to a street lighting column. And the Council have robustly applied that legislation. However, there is no formal council policy in place at this time, which is required also under the Highways Act. So I'm just asking Cabinet to agree that we adopt the street lighting attachment policy.
Thank you. Does any member wish to speak? No? Okay, a very important report nonetheless, Councillor Goodwin. Does Cabinet agree with the recommendation as set out in the report? Okay, thank you very much. And that brings Cabinet to a close. Thank you.